Viking longships carried over 100 warriors across the North Sea, packed into a space no bigger than a modern bus. Yet, unlike later sailors plagued by disease, Vikings arrived strong and ready for battle or trade. How did they stay healthy in such crowded, unsanitary conditions, without modern medicine or knowledge of germs? The answer lies in a blend of clever ship design, strict social customs, and practical survival skills. Today, we'll uncover the secrets of Viking survival at sea, from their hygiene habits to the ingenious design of their longships. Imagine a dragon-headed ship slicing through grey waves, dozens of men shoulder to shoulder, relying on shared knowledge to keep sickness at bay. Let's step aboard their world and discover how they turned their ships into vessels of survival. Life aboard a Viking longship meant living in extreme proximity. No cabins, no privacy, just open air and a sliver of deck for each man. Disease should have been rampant, as it was on later ships, but Vikings managed to avoid catastrophic outbreaks. Every meal, every drop of water, and every bit of waste had to be managed in the same cramped space. The constant exposure to the elements and physical strain made them vulnerable, yet historical evidence shows Viking crews were robust. Their secret? Advanced personal habits and cultural norms that prioritize cleanliness. Even without doctors or sick bays, they understood that hygiene was a crucial defense. This awareness started with the simple tools they carried. Let's look inside their personal kits. Arab diplomat Ahmad ibn Fadlan described Vikings as both impressive and, at first glance, filthy, sharing a single bowl of water for washing. But he also noted every man carried a comb and used it daily. Archaeologists have found combs, tweezers and ear spoons in Viking graves. Common items for all, not just the wealthy. These tools helped remove lice and dirt, fighting off diseases like typhus. Grooming was part of their identity. Sagas praised well-groomed heroes. Daily hygiene wasn't just about appearance, it was a practical health measure. By controlling pests and maintaining cleanliness, each Viking contributed to the crew's health. But their ship's design also played a crucial role. Viking longships had no toilets or waste areas. Waste went straight overboard, thanks to the ship's low sides. This simple method kept the living space clean and avoided the build-up of filth that caused disease on later ships. The open deck, exposed to wind and rain, was easy to wash down with seawater or rainwater. No cabins meant no hidden corners for germs to accumulate. The ship was a self-cleaning platform, constantly rinsed by the sea and sky. Compared to later ships, this primitive design was a public health advantage. By externalizing waste, Vikings sidestepped one of the biggest maritime health risks. But later, navies would make a fatal mistake by trying to improve on this simplicity. 18th and 19th century warships had internal latrines, but waste often fouled the ship and spread disease. Poor ventilation and cramped quarters below deck turned these ships into breeding grounds for dysentery, typhus and scurvy. More sailors died from disease than battle. The Vikings' open-air, waste-overboard approach was far healthier. Their simple design provided constant ventilation and avoided the sanitation traps of later ships. Sometimes the simplest solution is the most effective. But this system only worked because every crew member played their part. Let's see how Viking social structure enforced cleanliness. On a Viking longship, There was nowhere to hide. Everyone's actions were visible, creating strong social pressure to keep things clean. Hygiene and waste disposal became collective duties, enforced by peer pressure and mutual accountability. The crew, often from the same village or family, depended on each other for survival. Discipline was strict. Failing to maintain cleanliness risked the group's health and brought swift disapproval. The rule was simple. Waste goes overboard immediately. This shared responsibility turned the crew into a public health team. Unlike later navies, where cleaning was for the lowest ranks, on a Viking ship everyone pitched in. This egalitarian approach was a powerful defense against disease, but even the most disciplined crew needed a break from the sea. Viking voyages weren't endless. They made regular stops, beaching their ships to rest and reset. The longship's shallow draft let them land almost anywhere, giving the crew a chance to stretch, hunt, and find fresh water. On shore, they could wash themselves and their clothes and thoroughly clean the ship. These stops were essential maintenance for both crew and vessel. By breaking up voyages, they avoided the build-up of filth and fatigue. This rhythm of sea and shore was key to their survival. But what about safe drinking water when far from land? The answer lay in what they drank. Freshwater stored on ships quickly became unsafe, so Vikings relied on weak, nutrient-rich ale. Fermentation killed harmful microbes, making ale safer than stagnant water. Ale and other fermented foods were staples, providing calories and reducing disease risk. They carried some fresh water, but trusted their own provisions over unknown sources. This practice protected them from waterborne illnesses like cholera and dysentery. Fermentation was an early form of food safety technology. By managing what they drank, Vikings controlled another major disease vector. But there was one more crucial task: keeping the ship's belly clean. Water always found its way into the ship's bilge, the lowest part of the hull. If left unchecked, bilge water became a breeding ground for bacteria and rot. The open design let crew easily lift floorboards and bail out water with wooden scoops. Bailing was hard work, but essential for health and ship integrity. Everyone took turns, making it a communal task. A clean, dry bilge prevented foul air and disease, unlike the lower decks of later ships. This daily diligence was the final piece of Viking maritime health. Their survival was no accident. It was a system of hygiene, smart design, discipline, and practical knowledge. The Vikings' simple, effective solutions still offer lessons for us today.